there, friends! I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome or welcome back! Today we will be reading lore from League of Legends, specifically Star Guardians lore. This short story is Twin Stars by Cat Cherish. If you guys also want to read it, I will link the official Riot Games page in the bio below. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy! Akali could see the stars. They shimmered above her, each one a flickering flame over Valoran City. Pretty, Akali thought, focusing on those distant lights, forgetting for just a moment that she couldn't breathe. She forgot the feeling of gravel pressing into her back as she lay prone where they'd left her. Forget the way the other kids had turned on her when she'd tried to stop them from hurting the small, grimy puppy they'd found in the alley. She forgot everything but the stars, until a soft voice broke her focus. "Are you okay?" Akali tried to turn towards that voice, curious as to who had been brave enough to break up a 5-on-1 fight. Awareness of where exactly those punches and kicks had landed, however, kept her on the ground. "Did they knock you out?" the stranger asked, concerned. "Knocked down, actually," Akali corrected her with a wince. "Talking hurt. But then I'd figured I'd just stay down here. It's cozy, you know." The girl laughed, making Akali smile, and then grimace. Smiling hurt too. The girl stepped forward to stand above Akali. She offered a hand and smiled. "As comfy as that seems, maybe we should get you off the ground. This place is gross." Akali couldn't argue with that, and grabbing the girl's arm and pulling herself up. It was only then that Akali realized that she recognized this girl. Tall, pink hair, prim clothes. It was Kai'Sa. Pretty, perfect Kai'Sa. Akali had never spoken to her, but she knew Kai'Sa had been popular ever since she transferred to Valoran City Middle School earlier this year. The teachers wouldn't shut up about her. Polite, excellent in every subject, quiet. Basically, Akali's opposite, or so she had thought, right up until Kai'Sa had stormed into the alley. Akali heard Kai'Sa tell all 5 assailants that if she ever caught them picking on anyone, human or otherwise, she'd personally make them regret it. They'd fled without another word. Akali was as impressed as she was in pain. "I'm gonna bruises on my bruises," she admitted. "You do this often?" "The fights, I mean, not the losing," Kai'Sa grinned. "Neither," Akali hedged. "Well, not usually. Sometimes, but they were picking on oh crap, the dog." Kai'Sa helped her dig through the nearby bins, and Akali marveled at her willingness to get her hands dirty. Literally, they were elbow deep in trash and muck until... "There you are," Kai'Sa said, pulling the trembling pup from beneath a sodden bag. The creature was filthy, more dirt than dog, but it gave a small wag of its tail as Kai'Sa held it. "I think you made a friend," Akali said. "And here I was thinking I'd made 2, Kai'Sa mused. It took Akali a moment to understand. "Me? Why would you want to be friends with me?" Akali wasn't good at, well, anything, really, unless you counted playing video games, which Akali did, of course, but Kai'Sa didn't know that. "Well, for starters," Kai'Sa said, as she stood, still holding the dog, "I saved your life. Figure that makes us friends. Plus, you got your butt handed to you trying to save a puppy. Means you have good character." Akali laughed. "Alright, new friend, what are we gonna do with the dog? No way my mom would let it in the house. She barely lets me in the house." "My dad runs the shelter down the street. I volunteer on weekends." "Of course you do," Akali said dryly as Kai'Sa set off. "Come on," she called over her shoulder. "We can drop this little guy off, and then I'll walk you home." "Huh? I don't need a babysitter." "You napping in an alley says otherwise." Akali realized she'd never win an argument with this girl. Kai'Sa was true to her word. After settling the dog in one of the plush shelter beds, Kai'Sa walked Akali straight home. The journey was surprisingly pleasant, despite Akali knowing what awaited her at home. She marveled at how easy it was to talk to Kai'Sa. They made plans to grab ramen tomorrow after school, and that alone was enough to drown out the lecture that began as soon as she shut her front door. However, her mother's admonishments of useless and delinquent failed to hit the mark for once, banished by the word friend, blazing in Akali's heart like a newborn star. Chapter 1. The Fight. Ballarat City Park was busier than usual. Everyone seemed to have reached the same conclusion, opting for the longer, more scenic route to the mall to soak in the beautiful day. After all, who wouldn't want to bask in sunshine, birdsong, and Kaisa's yelling? You don't even know what it's for. Kaisa never shouted, not in the years Akali had known her, and especially not in public, so Akali really couldn't blame the passerbys for staring. Not much shouted right back. I don't care what it's for. No petition thing is worth burning out over. It's worth it to me, and I'm not burnt out, I'm just tired. Akali rolled her eyes. Tired? Kaisa, tired as you forgetting your homework, not sleeping through class. Look, I don't need a babysitter, Akali. Their old joke now felt like a jab. You're right, Akali spat. What you need is someone who isn't going to let you lie to yourself. You're pulling double shifts at the shelter on top of everything else. Dad needs the help, Kaisa and Akali said in unison. Well, it's true, Kaisa said softly. Kaisa was selfless to a serious fault. It was something Akali usually admired, but now, there's always someone else to help. Oh, so now it's wrong to help people? Kaisa demanded. That's not what I meant. Akali knew she should rein in her temper, but I'm not going to sit here and watch you sacrifice yourself for other people. I thought you, of all people, would... You know what? Never mind. Kaisa's lower lip trembled. I need to be alone right now. Akali knew she shouldn't leave. She wanted Kaisa to trust her, to be there when things got tough. The worst thing Akali could do was go to the mall without her best friend. It's official. I am the worst. Guilt and shame had been no match for pride, as Akali had made the trek to the mall alone. This couldn't be all her fault, right? This was all my fault. Whatever else Kaisa had going on, she'd always been there for Akali. When things at home had gotten really bad, Kaisa was there for her. They'd taken to wandering Ballarat City together after school, looking for trouble and trying to stop it if they could. A bona fide crime-fighting duo, Kaisa called them. Sure, it was mostly to keep Akali out of trouble, but they'd saved a few kids too. See, Akali reasoned, I help people. But Kaisa was the one who helped her no matter how tough it got. And I just left her there. I am the worst. The worst? Seems a bit dramatic, dear. A little old lady at the flower kiosk was smiling at her. Akali had been talking to herself. Great. Sorry, just being stupid. Akali turned to leave, but her gaze snagged on a bouquet of delicate pink and blue blossoms. She recognized them. Kaisa loved those little flowers so much that she'd bought matching friendship bracelets for them as charms. Akali could feel the delicate metal against her wrist. Forget-me-nots. The flower seller nodded knowingly. They represent an unbreakable bond of love and friendship. They also make a lovely apology. A gift. Maybe that would help smooth things over with Kaisa. Akali pulled out her wallet, oblivious to the strange rumbling that began above her. Chapter 2. Alone in a Crowd. Don't look, you know she hasn't called. Sarah Fortune clutched her phone so hard it was a wonder it didn't shatter. How is not hearing from Ari worse than fighting monsters? Don't look, don't... Sarah? What? She snapped. Sorry, Fortune. Sarah. You looked sort of angry? I was worried. Lux's face had turned the same shade as her bright pink hair, and guilt needled Sarah's conscience. Sorry, Lux. I was thinking about stuff. Oh yeah, very reassuring. But Lux sagged with relief. I know you said yes to shopping with us and everything, but I was worried. I'm glad you invited me, Lux. This was a welcome distraction, Sarah offered with a half-hearted smile. Now hurry up, Ez looks like he's about to implode. They turned to see Ezreal waving excitedly, gesturing to a lights and lamps store, of all places. Lux blushed. I'm okay, so go have fun, Sarah said. She wasn't okay, but Lux didn't need to know that. Instead, Sarah watched Lux smile before running past the flower kiosk to catch up with Ezreal. Jinx, rolling her eyes, followed them. Sarah didn't mind coming with them to the mall. Not really. From where she sat on her bench, she could see Poppy carrying 2 ice cream cones to Lulu, who might have been drooling. She spotted Yana and Soraka being as awkward as possible at the front of a line in the food court. They'd been there for 10 minutes, engaged in a polite battle of wills with many an "Oh, after you," and "No, please, I insist," as an irritated crowd formed behind them. Sarah almost smiled at the thought of how long Jinx had been glaring at Ezreal without blinking. Syndra wasn't here, of course. She'd been busy, but everyone else had made it, except Ari. She's probably in space, or she's dead in space. Yup, not hearing from Ari was worse than fighting monsters. But Sarah knew Ari would be fine and aloof, and unwilling to confide in anyone, not even her own lieutenant. It had been like this ever since that battle with her. No, Sarah couldn't think about that, even as memories of that lonely planet threatened to rise to the surface. She couldn't think of Ari dragging her away from their fallen friends. Not as guilt whispered that they were dead because of her. No. Sarah buried that pain deep. And then she couldn't bury it. She distracted herself from it. She had her new team. She had her phone. Easy. Except when it wasn't. Like now. And this is why you can't get close to others, Sarah reminded herself. She was barely keeping it together after losing one team. Sarah didn't think she'd survive losing another, not if she saw them as more than the mission. It's the right thing to do, she whispered to herself. Sarah's training had made it impossible to truly be lost in thought. That's why one moment she sat trying to forget, and the next, she was standing, every muscle in her body tense. A keening whistle, the sound of something moving far too fast, was followed by a rumble from somewhere above her. What the? But Sarah was cut off as something crashed into the flower stand. Chapter 3. The Grand Entrance. Akali could see the sky. She could make out the pinks and purples of sunset through a hole in the ceiling. Petals and debris fell, and for some reason, they reminded her of Kaisa. Forget-me-nots. That's right. She'd been talking to the flower seller, but she couldn't remember why. Her head throbbed. If only her thoughts weren't so sluggish. If only the people around her would stop screaming. People were screaming. Panic cut bone deep. Something was wrong. An awareness mingled with adrenaline broke through the haze in her head. Uh-oh, she thought dimly. This isn't good. Now this isn't good, a male voice agreed from somewhere above her. Akali could just make out 2 figures in front of her, obscured by clouds of dust. Where are the banners? Where are the parades and adoring fans? The voice went on. Looks like no one planned a party for your homecoming, Rakan. A girl's voice now, bored and mocking. I think you're right, Saya. As the dust began to settle, Akali could see who'd spoken. But that couldn't be right. They looked, well, ridiculous. Feathered capes? Gemstones? They were facing away from her as Zaya patted Rakan's arm. Not even a balloon, he whined. Babe, do you know what this means? That I'm going to have to coddle your fragile ego? Zaya asked dryly. Well, yes, but no. It means we're gonna destroy the city. What do you say? It's a date, she said simply, before the pair unleashed themselves. Chapter 4. Forgotten Friends. It was what Sarah had been waiting for. Less thinking, more action. Past the clouds of dust, she could make out Lux, Ezreal, and Jinx sprinting toward whatever had crashed through the roof. Poppy, pulling her hammer from light only knew where, shielded Lulu, who was still eating her ice cream. Sarah couldn't see them, but she could hear Soraka and Yana ushering panicked choppers away from the epicenter. See anything? Sarah shouted at Lux. Not a thing. There's too much. Yana, help! A gust of wind cleared the lingering dust to reveal 2 figures. The taller one gave a gracious bow in Sarah's direction, but the other only glared, hatred clouding her violet eyes. Familiar eyes, but they were the wrong color. They were wrong. They were... Buried memories clawed their way through Sarah's psyche. Green eyes were filled with tears. He wasn't breathing. She wasn't moving. Fuchsia feathers fell into puddles of black. Someone grabbed Sarah around the waist, pulling, pleading. A child's laugh, horrible and cruel. No, they couldn't be here. They couldn't be... Zaya? Rakan? Sarah whispered. Looks like she remembers us after all, Rakan mused, glancing at his partner, but Zaya only had eyes for Sarah. She snarled, and Sarah's instincts took over. Looking back, she would wonder if things had gone differently had Ari been there. She at least would have cautioned against transforming in front of hundreds of panicked patrons. She would diffuse the situation in that calm, level-headed way of hers. But Sarah wasn't Ari. "Star Guardians!" Sarah and Zaya shouted. Sarah's words a command, Zaya's a curse, as a kaleidoscope of colour exploded from them all. Sarah couldn't say she fully believed in the First Light. She wasn't keen on some unknowable cosmic force manipulating her life. But she believed in the mission, in protecting those who couldn't protect themselves no matter the cost. That molten core of belief fueled her transformation, her world becoming one of colour, light, and white-hot power. She channeled it, allowing starlight to replace doubt, replace fear. She could see the gem now glowing on her chest, her uniform twinkling like a galaxy. The old Sarah Fortune had melted away, leaving only a Star Guardian. The light of 8 transformations momentarily blinded Zaya and Rakan, and Sarah seized her chance. Baki, it's showtime, Sarah shouted. Her familiars popped into being. A small frown replaced Baki's usual smirk, and Baki glanced with his good eye past Zaya and Rakan to where Saki and Riku, their familiars, fluttered nervously. Baki let out a sad squawk. "It isn't them," Sarah said, whether to herself or her familiars she wasn't sure. "Still making a habit of lying to yourself?" Zaya asked before hurling her feathers like knives. Sarah took them out with 2 precise pistol shots, but Zaya had already thrown a second volley. "Not today, lady." Ezreal teleported in front of Sarah, firing bolts at the oncoming darts, only to be caught off guard by Rakan. One of his feathers clipped Ezreal's gem, missing his heart by inches. "There can only be one leading man, you know," Rakan offered almost amicably. "Yeah," Ezreal agreed, taking aim with his gauntlet. "I'm pretty sure it's me." "I'm pretty sure it's me," Jinx shouted just as her familiars Kuro and Shiro unleashed a storm of bullets. The battle became a blur of light and colour, Zaya and Rakan matching the Guardians' combined attacks. How were they so powerful? Rakan charged headfirst at Poppy, only to narrowly avoid the downward swing of her hammer. Zaya zipped toward them, but Lulu threw picks at her face before Zaya could retaliate against the flapping familiar. Lux shot an orb of light that bound Zaya and Rakan in prismatic rings. "Why are you attacking us?" Lux demanded. "Stop this!" "Stop this! You Guardian losers never change," Zaya looked disgusted. "Whatever you two are, you shouldn't be here," Sarah said. "Well, you shouldn't have..." "What was it that she did to us, Rakan?" Zaya said as she struggled against her bindings. "Abandoned us to die?" Rakan broke free from his ring, Zaya a beat behind. "Abandoned us to die? Yep, that was it," Zaya said. Sarah aimed a shaking barrel at Zaya. "That wasn't you. The real Zaya and Rakan are dead." "Is that what you've been telling yourself?" Zaya chided. Sarah fired. Rakan soared to Zaya's side in an instant, a golden shield enveloping them. "Or is that what Ari told you?" Zaya seeded. "That we died? Or that we weren't worth saving?" She broke out of Rakan's protection towards Sarah once more, but another brilliant beam of light from Lux forced her back. "Sarah, we have a problem," Lux said. "Wow, Lux, I hadn't noticed." Sarah rolled her eyes. "Not them!" Did Lux just snap at her? But Lux wasn't looking at her, or at Zaya and Rakan. She was staring behind them, to where a small figure cowered in the wreckage of the flower stand. "We have a problem," Sarah agreed. "You need to get her out of here," Lux said. You don't even know what you're up against, and you're too close to this." Lux really did snap at her. "I watched you hesitate. You never hesitate, and we need help. Go get Ari, or Syndra, anyone, and get that girl out of here." Sarah didn't move, not until Lux whispered, "Please." She knew Lux was right. Someone had to help the kid, and Sarah really was too close to this. "You're in charge," Sarah said, jumping into the air. "Do you ever not run away?" Zaya threw another feather at her, but Yana knocked it off course with a well-aimed breeze. Rakan tried to intercept Sarah, but Pix hit him in the head with a smack. "Stop throwing this thing at people!" Rakan shouted, spinning in mid-air to land on his feet. Lulu waved at Sarah. Time to save a star, she said dreamily before readying picks for another attack. Sarah landed next to the girl who trembled against the only remaining wall of the flower stand. Hey kid, we gotta get you out of here, Sarah coaxed, but the girl didn't move. She just stared at the very real, very magical fight happening in front of them. She's in shock. Well, from lieutenant to babysitter, Sarah pulled the girl to her feet, half dragging her toward the exit. A swirling path of stars appeared, lighting the way. Sarah nodded her thanks to Soraka, not stopping even as Zaya shouted after her. Leaving your friends to die again, Sarah. You're pathetic. A part of Sarah worried Zaya was right. This is such a good story. I can't wait to finish with you guys next time, so look out for part 2 of this story. I personally love all things Star Guardian, and I think getting these short stories for an insight into the world is really awesome. I'm really new to this whole YouTube thing, so there may be a few hiccups. But I'll be sure to read more lore and short stories, and if there's anything you guys would like to hear, then make sure to let me know in the comments. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Okay, bye bye!